everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Appraisal Buzzcast. I'm Jim Morrison, and with me, as always, is our host, Hal Humphreys. Let me bring Hal in. Hey, Hal, how are you doing?
Jim, I'm doing fantastic. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Well, when this publishes, we'll only have a couple more days left for Valuation Expo, and our guest today is one of the speakers at Valuation Expo. We're very excited to have Jeff Hogan, who's an SRA, AI-RRS, and the Senior Vice President of Valuations and Chief Appraiser for Valligent. Let me bring Jeff in. He's doing the man versus machine debate at Valuation Expo, which is going to be a very exciting debate panel at our show.
Jeff, thank you for being here today.
Good to be here. Thank you, Hal. Thank you for inviting me, and looking forward to Val Expo.
You know, it's been a couple of years since you've been on the show. I don't think I've ever had the pleasure of interviewing on the show. So, it's just for the folks that that don't really pay attention to the industry. Tell us a little bit about your history in the industry and what your current role is at Valligent.
Hal. So I've been appraising for about 35 years in the industry, worked for various companies, Bank of America and other institutions. I am currently working for a company called Valligent, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Verils. So the last time we were on, there was no Valligent in the picture. I was just vice president at Verils. But since that time, we acquired Valligent, and that has and made me have another hat, which is chief appraiser of Valligent, in addition to still being senior vice president of Verils Valuations. So a lot has changed in the last 2 years. A lot has changed in our industry the last 2 years, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that, I know. But we acquired Valligent because as a data analytics company, we wanted to be able to offer end-to-end solution, everything from AVMs on one end of the risk spectrum, all the way to property condition reports, desktop appraisals, hybrid appraisals, exteriors, all the way up to traditional full appraisals. So just being able to offer that to our clients and having some of that expertise in those other fields is just made sense for us. So anyway, so more work for me, but it's good. I enjoy it.
I love it. Well, let's do this. I'm going to take a quick break and we'll hear from one of our sponsors, and we will be right back.
Wondering how property insurance is changing in the wake of climate events and natural disasters? Need a primer on appraising religious properties? Eager to learn how tech tools can streamline your workload? The Appraisal Institute's Trending Topic Thursdays is a webinar series that's designed to help appraisers everywhere do their best work by keeping a pulse on industry trends, tools, and relevant skills. Join the Appraisal Institute as a member to gain access to our on-demand library of timely content featuring leading experts, or join us live for the next webinar. Live sessions are free to attend for members and non-members alike. Visit appraisalinstitute.org to explore the free webinar series.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to the Appraisal Buzzcast. I'm Hal Humphreys. I'm joined today by Jeff Hogan, Chief Appraiser at Valligent. As we heard before the break, Jeff wears a lot of hats at Veros and Valligent. Jeff, I cannot tell you how excited I am to have you at Val Expo working as part of this man versus machine debate. I think it's going to be interesting. I think people are going to want to see what is said and what the arguments are for and against. And you and I have known each other for quite some time. I think I'm safe in saying you don't want to get rid of appraisers.
No, do not. Absolutely not. That is against my best interest, and actually the best interest of our company. I know people think of a data collection company or people that collect data like from appraisals want to get rid of appraisers. Well, that's counterintuitive. You need appraisal data to do data. So it's a very important part of our company, and important part of what I do as a person, as a profession, is to make sure that appraisers are working well into, when I'm long gone. I don't want to see this profession go away, and I think we can really be a part of really the solution without giving too much away about our debate. I think there's a lot of opportunities coming up, but it can be scary. So I get it. I get what's going on. It can be scary for appraisers.
The thing is, there is a lot of fear out there in the industry. I hear from appraisers across the country that are worried about artificial intelligence, automated valuation systems, the entire technology thing. But at the end of the day, I have a firm belief that appraisers bring some superpowers to the table. You know, part of that is USPAP requires us to not only gather information, but to verify that information and then to analyze that information. And I think that's part of the superpowers that we bring to the table. But without giving too much away about what you're going to talk about, give us I don't know, a little brief peek into what you plan to talk about in the panel discussion.
Well, I plan to talk about obviously some of the new technology that's out there. We're all familiar with things like ChatGPT. We're familiar with machine learning. We're familiar with the vision and computer vision. So I'm going to talk a bit about that, but really from the context of how do I as an appraiser kind of utilize some of those things. Just like you can go back to the days of cameras when we were going to the photo shop. We talk about all the things we used to do that we don't do anymore that really made our life easier. So this is kind of one of those moments, a pivotal moment in our profession with all the things going on, changing with the UAD, data set. So there's a lot of things, and it doesn't help that the market's kind of slow. So that kind of adds to the angst from a lot of appraisers right now, and I understand that. So the best thing they can do, and without kind of giving a plug to the Val Expo, if you haven't signed up for Val Expo, I really suggest you do it. Not only just for my conference, which is going to be great, my segment, but really just to get around other appraisers that really care about their industry. And I care about this profession. So I'm excited. I'm so happy with you and Brian, what you guys are doing with this and making it more engaging with some of the topics. So it's going to be a great time. So there's a lot to be said. I met with John, that those don't know John Russell. He's a lawyer, so he's a debater by trade. I'm an appraiser, so that's going to be fun talking to him if you ever met John. But it should be very lively and very engaging. So that's all I'll say for now.
I'm excited about it. Again, I think look, I've heard people arguing about this in kind of an uncontrolled atmosphere. And I mean, Jeff, you and I both know it's unsafe to go on to Facebook and ask a question about appraisal things. But we're not creating a safe space at Val Expo, but it is a place where we can have an informed conversation about what this really means. And you mentioned, unfortunately the market is down a little bit slow. When Fannie Mae came out with the announcement about UAD and we're really going to be switching this time, it's going to happen real soon. And then they talked about alternative appraisal products, PDC plus, ACE plus, those kind of things. As they're making those announcements, and I think it's just kind of unfortunate timing, the market is also taking a little bit of a downturn. A year and a half ago, pretty steep downturn. And it seemed to me that there was kind of are you familiar with the phrase post hoc ergo propter hoc?
No.
It's a debate phrase that basically means after the thing, therefore because of the thing, or after the fact, therefore because of the fact. And I think Fannie Mae makes an announcement, the market turns down, not necessarily causal. I think the market's going to do what the market's going to do. Fannie Mae is going to make
it's a cyclical business. Yeah.
So can you briefly explain the current state of real estate evaluation and appraisal?
Yeah, so you've kind of already talked about it briefly, is that it is a cyclical business. Like I said, I've been doing this 35 years, so I've seen all the ups and downs. And most of us have. It's funny, but no matter when it happens, it always seems like the sky's falling, and we've done that. And I don't want to be insensitive to people that are struggling. There's a lot of people really struggling right now because of the market and the interest rates and all that. But at the same token, we've weathered those storms, and we as industry, sometime it means you have to take some changes in lifestyle and all that. We've done that. We've adjusted, and we're still here. So I think the market is going to turn around, and I think interest rates, because they're so high, when they do start falling, there's going to be quite a bit of business. And I think we are at a point also too where we're still dealing with the issue of still a lack of new appraisers coming into the profession. I mean, that hasn't, it doesn't seem like an issue now, obviously, but as we talk about 5-10 years from now, when more people are starting to retire and the age of the appraisers continue to increase, without new blood coming in, we're going to be faced with a real crisis. And I think we saw a little bit of that in 2021 with all the volume, and we just didn't have enough appraisers. And it was a great temporary run for a lot of appraisers because we were making all this money, but I don't think it was good for the consumer. I don't think it was good for the industry, mortgage industry, but I think it did kind of wake some people up. Even going back to COVID showed us that we can do appraisals without inspections, without going in the house. That's when we started doing desktops. So the sky didn't fall. So we see a lot of shifting going on, and I think most of it in the long run is going to be better for us.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Look, the only constant is change. We've been using that good old 1004 form for way too long.
Yeah.
So things are going to change. Nothing we can do about it. A couple of things, look, coming to Val Expo, getting informed about what's really going on in these tech spaces, hearing the debate about man versus machine. And look, we're framing it as a rock'em sock'em robots thing. It's more of a, let's sit down and talk about this and see what it really means.
Right.
And Jeff, I don't know if you've seen some of the advertising we've got coming out, but Jason Pfeiffer is the editor-in-chief at Entrepreneur Magazine. He's going to be there to talk specifically about change, and not in a cheerleader rah ray, but literally he studied change and how people deal with it. And I think it's going to be a really fun conversation.
Awesome.
All right, so before we hit the turn, just briefly, this question almost seems insane to ask, but how have advancements in technology begun to impact this field? I mean, we're being impacted left and right with technology, but top 3 technology things that hit your mind right now.
Oh man. Obviously one of it is the enormous access to data that wasn't there before. We didn't have, I'm old, I'm dating myself, man. We didn't have MLS. We're looking at public records. We're looking at stuff on microfiche. People don't know what that is. But just looking at over the evolution of change in our profession over the last few decades, just with the technology of the things like the phone. And the phone now, you can do pretty much write a full appraisal, at least the field work on your appraisal with the phone. You don't need the tape measure. You don't need the clipboard. You don't need the camera, right? We have this tool belt, appraisal tool belt kit with these things on it. Now that's all in the palm of your hand. So everybody has seen that one change and how we can do so much more with less, and the efficiency, how soon you can do things. I hope everybody's using mobile technology, where they're taking the information from their phone and don't say no, and downloading it onto their computer. So when they get to their office, the exterior work is already done, the photos are uploaded and all that stuff. So, man, without that, I don't even know. I'm still doing appraisals here and there, and man, that technology, I think about how archaic it was before and go, man, I can walk back to my office and open up my computer and upload from the cloud my appraisal. It's halfway done. So, and that's continuing to each. That's old stuff, but now we got current things like to be able to pull information off of different data sources, have adjustments made based on market information, and having all that stuff that's now available too. So I'm going to talk a little more about that as well, but there's a lot more things we can do that are just mind blowing. It's exciting, actually.
Yeah, you talked about microfiche. I have spent way too many hours in the bowels of courthouses scrolling through microfiche. There was a time that I was on not just first name basis, but like birthday gift basis and beers on Friday basis with several of the Davidson County tax assessor and register of deeds office. Like we knew each other because I was in there 2 or 3 times a week. And now if I go in, it's like, oh, Hal, we don't recognize you. Yeah, back in the day. So You know, I think there was an appraiser I worked with here in Nashville years ago. I didn't actually work with him. He worked around the hall from me in another company, but he would put on this utility belt with 100-foot tape measure and a 16-foot steel tape measure, and he had a plumb bob and a steel marble and a clipboard and a camera, and it's like now I do all of my inspections with this. That's it.
Exactly.
So I like getting rid of the kit, as you say, and dialing it down to a
Yeah.
little bit more of a streamlined process. But look, there's a lot of technology out there. Look, it's like anything else in the world, Jeff. I think you'll agree with this. Some things like Betamax videotapes.
Yeah, I remember
Really
that.
good tool, really good quality.
Pretty fun.
Just didn't
Yeah.
work out, right? Blu-ray
Yeah.
DVDs, like super
Mm.
high quality, wasn't quite there.
Mhm.
Some of this tech is going to really catch on. Some of it's going to die on the vine.
I agree.
But we would be foolish not to pay attention to it and see
Exactly.
what of it works for us.
Correct.
So let's do this. I'm going to take a real quick break. We'll hear from one of our commercial sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Looking for a trusted partner for your home valuation and title needs? Solidify is one of the most reliable names in the business. With their cutting-edge technology and extensive network, they deliver top quality, transparent, and efficient services to the biggest mortgage lenders in the U.S. Their marketplace of independent, qualified field professionals ensures an exceptional homeownership experience every time. Visit solidify.com for more info and stay updated with their latest news on LinkedIn.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Hal Humphreys. You're listening to the Appraisal Buzzcast, and I am thrilled to be joined today by Jeff Hogan, Chief Appraiser at Valligent. Jeff is going to be joining us at Val Expo coming up in just by the time this airs, it'll be, I don't know, a week or so away. Cannot wait to be there. If you haven't signed up for Val Expo, there's still time. Go ahead and get your ticket, show up, join us in Las Vegas. We'd love to see you there. Be part of the conversation. So Jeff, we talked about technology, we talked about those things. Let's dial it back and just kind of give me your idea of what the human appraiser evolves to in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot, Hal, and I'm an old guy now. Like I said, I started this when I was young. I had young legs. I could jump in and out of the car and run around homes and all that. But now I'm older with older knees and not as limber. So I really see the future's professions going toward things. Some of the exciting things we're working on personally at Valligent is virtual inspections, where you have actual someone at the property. It could be the homeowner, it could be a data collector who's virtually going through that property and giving you a nice visual, not just pictures but video, live feed video, so you can go through that with that person, walk them through that. So for somebody like me, what I see, and it was something I may bring up at the Val Expo, is in the next 10 years or so, I could be sitting by the beach, open up my laptop and just look at my video and do an appraisal and not have to leave my leave my my beach chair. So I think that's where we're headed. I think we're going to head toward where information and data is going to be, we're able to feed it and get it. We're able to make adjustments. Hey, give me every home that sold in the past 5 years that had a pool that had the same square footage, and tell me what that average adjustment was, adjusted by the time of the market condition for that market, API index. So you can start really training yourself and learning how to do prompts on things like ChatGPT to get current information. Now, obviously, you brought up at the beginning, you got to fact check this stuff. You can't just take it at face value, but it's the tools that are available to you that you can fact check now that weren't available. So that's why I see the future, and I see that's where we're headed as a profession. We'll probably all do less grinding, going through yards and wet grass and dog poop, and probably be just more sitting either in our office or somewhere else in an exotic location and having an adult beverage or something, and just enjoying our time. So that's where I think we're headed. And I think we are going to have more technology stuff that I haven't even thought of today. That's how fast things are changing. That
Right.
so to think about the 5 years from now, it's almost like I don't know. It's going to be so much going on that will make these things, even what we're doing today, even seem slow.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. All right, let me ask you this. Do you think there will always be a need for human involvement in property evaluations? Why or why not?
Absolutely. I believe because of what we've been saying before, the technology that's out there doesn't take into consideration, especially on the residential side. Now, commercial side, I know they don't like to say this, but it's more pure numbers. So it's actually easier to do without commercial appraisers. I know they don't like to hear that in some ways in residential because you do have a human element to personal preferences, things that you can't put on paper that you can't even reconcile sometimes until you actually either know that market or know the neighborhood or know the property, and we're getting better with that, but there's still going to be that element of understanding things. For example, like this one example, I'll probably give something similar to this at the Val Expo. We look at technology from the standpoint of making an adjustment to, say, a bedroom, right? And you say, okay, the bedroom adjustment in that neighborhood is averaging, let's make up a number, $15,000 is average. Okay, that's fine. However, once you get past 4 bedrooms, you're not making that adjustment, or 5 bedrooms, or 6 bedrooms. So you have to know when you're exceeding what's typical, and now you have functional obsolescence, and actually it's a negative. So the technology doesn't know that kind of things. I mean, you can train some of that, and we're working on some of that, but still, there's going to be things like that where knowing how appraisals work with technology, which is just a robot kind of thinking, and it doesn't have that element to it. Say, let's look at this from how this will work in the real world. That's where expertise comes in, and you got to know that stuff. You got to have been in the field. You got to have had some experience doing appraisals before you start doing straight. Even to me, before you start doing desktops, I think you got to know how to do an inspection if you don't do it, because you got to know what to look for, right? So those are the kind of things where I think we can continue to be involved in. And there's just complex properties, and that's really, I think, where the value of an appraiser is going to be is not the cookie cutter standard tracky condos where everything's a model map. No, it's going to be the oddball properties, right? The dome house, the big mansion. Those are kind of things where we're going to need expertise beyond the current technology. So that's the kind of training. I know you guys are doing some of that training. The Institute is doing some of that training. So that's where, and I'm actually maybe mentioning that a little bit, that's where I think we need to go if you want to stay relevant in the next 5-10 years.
I heard someone say at a conference a couple of weeks ago, just ask the data. And somebody said, the data can't talk. And the fact is, all the data in the world is interesting and useful, but you do have to have a human being to interrogate it and analyze it and draw some conclusions out of it. And, you talked about the one-off properties, the high-end properties, the dome house, those kind of things. It would be, there are some organizations I think that would love for every house in the country to be a square box, perfectly square, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, whatever. Like everything is like cookie cutter because they fit into the algorithm cleanly and better. But human beings don't want to be the same.
No, they don't.
They don't, they don't want to have the same. They want some of the same things, but some girl wants a stone fireplace in the backyard crafted by a mason, and another guy wants a deck with a TV so he can watch, Sunday afternoon football in the backyard. And still yet another wants to have a lakefront property that doesn't just have 100 feet of frontage, but has a whole peninsula of frontage around it. And that leads us
with some fish in there.
Sure. That leads us to bringing Jim Morrison back into the conversation. I kind of leaked out the anonymous appraiser question because I saw it before the show. Morrison, tell us what the anonymous appraiser question is. This is where appraisers come in.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to submit your own anonymous appraiser, reach out to us at comments@appraisalbuzz.com or just comment on the YouTube video. But this one says, I have an upcoming listing on a lakefront home that is located on a peninsula and has 3 sides of lake frontage that equals 350 linear feet. This is the largest and most desirable lot in the community, and most lots only have about 100 feet of frontage. Is there a way to determine the land value on this property? The home is pretty straightforward to value, but I'm struggling with the land value because of the additional desirable water views and water access.
All right, so I'm going to jump in
Wow.
real quick and say we've just got to skip the word desirable. If we're
Yes,
appraising
right.
this,
That's
not the
right.
most
That's right.
desirable lot
That's right.
on the on the
That's right.
lake.
That's right.
Jeff, what are your thoughts? You got a house
Woo, man.
270 degrees of water frontage, and the rest of them just have 100 feet. How do you will that fit into an algorithm neatly?
As of now, no, that is not something that would fit in the algorithm. That's going to take somebody that really knows that neighborhood and market. And the other thing you mentioned, algorithms can't talk. The other thing that appraisers do that's valuable is they gather information. They go talk to. This is what appraisers don't like to do. It's going to be kind of sound weird to say, but you call a realtor who knows the market and ask them, and then now you've got a local expert, that can either validate what you think or what you feel the values. And you got to say, I got somebody that sells more lakefront properties than anybody else. And there was one 300 square foot lot, lakefront property that sold 10 years ago. That's over there, and maybe you use that one. Yes, it doesn't fit into the box of less than 6 months. It may be 5 years, 10 years old, but you're only really making one adjustment, time adjustment, or market condition adjustment. That's much better than trying to make a whole bunch of different adjustments. I'm a big believer in going back in time to look for data like that if you don't have any paired sales, because that's really what you can do. But it's a difficult assignment, and it requires a lot of research on the part of the appraiser, a lot of interviews with local people, local realtors, and even local people that live in the community to try to figure that out. But that's a tough assignment, and it's not going to fit in at least not our AVM. Doesn't fit in our. If it doesn't fit in our AVM, it doesn't fit in anybody. So no, it doesn't fit on the AVM.
The thing about a project like this is, it's number one, kudos to the appraiser for taking the assignment. I think
That's a challenge. Yeah.
a lot
Maybe he
of
didn't
the
know.
appraisers.
Maybe the appraiser didn't know what they were getting into.
Yeah. A lot of the appraisers I know, and myself at certain times, would have passed on that job because it's like, well, I don't have the time to get in it. But look, I love hard problems like that personally.
Me too.
And the two things I would suggest, Jeff's touched on one of them. Go further back in time. Don't be afraid to go further back in time. If you've got nothing current, go further back. The other thing I would say is, don't be afraid to go broader in your geographic search.
Absolutely.
If you're in, I don't know, Tennessee on a lakefront property, Dale Hollow Lake, whatever it's called, and you got a property that meets that description, and there's nothing else on that lake that meets that description, maybe go to the Cordell Hull, maybe go to Lake of the Ozarks, some other comparable type place, and find a similar situation. It may not be exactly the same, but it could be similar. And I mean, I talked about something like this earlier with another appraiser. There are times when you find analogs for a situation, and you maybe, instead of getting a specific dollar adjustment for an item, you get some percentage adjustments from an analog situation and bring that over and apply it here. There are a number of accepted methodologies, but at the end of the day, to the appraiser that asks the question, have fun with that. It's going to be a fun bit of research. You're probably going to learn a lot about the market, which will inform other appraisals. And number one, and number two, stick with accepted methodology, and you should be fine.
And I mean, one other thing too, you made me think of something else. What's great about doing those kind of homes and unique properties is nobody questions it. There's no, what are you going to use? Okay, find another sale just like it next door. Well, if I had one, I'd give it to you. So what I like, because I did a lot of property in my, when I was doing a lot of work in LA, I did a lot of stuff in Beverly Hills, Bel Air, and those are very unique properties. And in some ways they're easier to do because they're so unique. So you are going 15, 20 miles to other high-end neighborhoods to find a comparable. And If that's the case, and you're making adjustments for location and all the other things you need to make for time, those don't get questioned as much because there's no other sales out there. So if you make your case and do a good job in it, you're probably going to get less questions than you do for that track home, which has 25 sales and you didn't use one of the ones that they picked. So that kind of thing. So keep that in mind also.
Give me a house on the side of Eagle Rock any day because it's going to be a fun appraisal.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Morrison, do we have anything else we need to cover today?
No, Jeff, thank you so much. We're really looking forward to your session at Valuation Expo. I think it's going to be very exciting. We'll put the link to register for Valuation Expo in the description, and we're looking forward to seeing you there in Vegas. It's going to be hot.
All right. Looking forward to seeing you guys. Thank you.
Jeff, thank you again. If we don't have anything else for Jim Morrison and Jeff Hogan, I'm Hal Humphreys, and that is your Appraisal Buzzcast for this week.